So I want to talk about chicken in the United States and why it is banned in the EU. So in the US, chickens are raised in such inhumane conditions. I'm not even going to tell you about them. You can Google it and look up yourself. It's horrendous. But basically, because it's so unsanitary, the chicken has to be washed in chlorine before it is taken to market, just to try to get rid of some of the bacteria that these poor birds have been exposed to in this environment. And so the EU thinks there should be a high level of safety throughout the food chain from farm to fork, not just cleaning the meat heavily at the end of the process to compensate for insufficient hygiene standards earlier. So that's the reason the EU bans it. Now, I happen to have a little bit more inside information because I've seen some things. So years ago, I live in Georgia. I'm in Atlanta, and Tyson is really big here. So we have a lot of chicken farms, in Georgia. One of my clients years ago worked for Tyson as a teenager. And so what she told me is that they have practices that change how long it takes a chicken to grow. So a chicken now, when it's raised in these conventional ways, grows twice as fast as a chicken just out on the farm in the grass, living their life. Twice as fast. So they're also fed, the conventional chickens are fed grains that are genetically modified. And as a result, their protein content is lower than the chickens raised, in the wild or on the farm. And conventional chickens have more omega-6 fats than, pasture-raised chickens do. And omega-6 fats are the inflammatory fats in our body. And if that wasn't bad enough, now we've got a process called plumping. So in plumping, a saline injection is given to keep the bird moist. This is after they kill the bird, I'm assuming. So they plump the bird with this saline injection. And this didn't help the flavor, though, because these conventionally raised chickens did not taste as good. So natural flavor was added to this saline solution. Some of that is broth, lemon concentrates, corn syrup, other forms of sugar. Sodium phosphate was added as a binder so the chicken would retain more water during shipping and cooking. And then because low sodium became a marketing thing, they changed the sodium phosphate to potassium phosphate, which then caused the meat to taste more bitter. So then they had to bump up more natural flavors to add to the mix. So I had a couple of clients who moved here from South America. Both of them had family members that when they moved to the US and they tried to eat the chicken, they would throw up. And it kept happening. Every time they would eat chicken, they would throw up. They just stopped eating chicken. The next United States food that's banned in other countries that I want to talk about is our milk. So our milk is banned in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, also in Japan and the EU. That's a lot of countries banning our milk. What could be wrong with our milk? Well, here's what happened. They were banned due to a synthetic hormone called RBGH that was given to these cows so they would produce more milk. Now, you might remember this because some years back, word got out about this and people raised a fuss and they stopped drinking milk. And so a lot of milk producers put RBGH free, on the label of the milk to try to get people to come around. And eventually a lot of these manufacturers stopped using it, but not enough that these other countries have lifted the ban. So it's very cool that we can make a difference. As we learn about what's happening to our food, a lot of people message me when I do these videos. They're like, well, what can we do? How do we change the FDA? What can we do? And that's a legitimate question. But this is a great example of how grassroots and consumer outcry actually can make a difference. Here's another food that is banned in the EU that comes from America. It might surprise you. It's our apples. So why did they ban? Is because American apples are treated with a chemical called DPA. And this chemical has been suggested to be carcinogenic, or cancer causing. It is used so that the fruit doesn't turn brown, but it's this chemical that gives the apples you see in the supermarket like a glow about them, and it's just not healthy. So the EU has banned these apples from the US. So I have a story about that. Okay, I want to show you guys something that has blown my mind. And we'll film this closer so you can see up close, but this is an organic apple. I bought this 3 weeks ago, July 25th approximately, and today is August 18th. So I haven't had a chance to eat this apple. It has not been in the refrigerator. I came upon it about 3 days ago in my bag because I forgot to take it out, and I was like, uh-oh. It has not gone bad, you guys. It's organic. The first thing people say is, did it have the Apeel label on it? Because Apeel is that new Bill Gates thing that's supposed to keep fruits and vegetables from going bad, that they allow on organic produce, but it's supposed to be labeled. No, I checked. It had no Apeel. I don't know what's been done to this apple, but it has not gone bad at all. I'm going to do an experiment by buying organic apples from different stores and see if I get an apple that will actually go bad. Here's another food that is banned in other countries that we consume regularly in the United States, and that is U.S. breakfast cereals. How many little kids eat this stuff every day? These are banned in Japan and in the EU. Now, why? So cereals like Rice Krispies, which of course you might think that's the healthiest one I could feed my kids. It makes sense that Lucky Charms with all the artificial colors and marshmallows, that might not be a good thing to eat. But Rice Krispies, come on. Honey Bunches of Oats and Frosted Flakes and many other cereals. These foods are banned because they contain a flavor enhancer called BHT. And BHT has cancer-causing properties. So that's why these other countries do not allow our cereals in there. But you guys, check your labels. You would be amazed. A lot of processed food has BHT. When you have a food that's not good quality, you have to do something to make it taste better than it actually is. And BHT is a flavor enhancer. So it's crazy. When you think about the numbers of people that start their day with a bowl of cereal, and what gets my heart is the numbers of kids that start with a bowl of cereal. So the other foods that you can watch out for BHT in include chewing gum, frozen foods, and other processed foods, which is a pretty wide category. So read the labels, watch out for BHT. One more thing that you have to know about BHT, it has to do with how you can sneak around labeling laws. So lots of companies that produce, cereals or crackers or these kinds of things, once the consumer gets alerted, hey, I don't really want preservatives in my food, then the companies try to get around this. And wheat thins is a good example of this. Wheat thins are also banned. And they do not put BHT in the food. So when you read the label on a box of wheat thins, you're not going to see BHT listed. How can that be? They actually put it in the cellophane bag on the inside that holds the crackers. They still get exposed to this chemical, but it's not required to be listed on the label. So you guys, we're in a battle. We're in a battle for our health. We've got to take back control of our food supply.